I'm Suzanne Sibylla. I'm the owner of Sibylla and Associates, which is the premier leadership and employee development company.
Overcome obstacles, reframe your reality, love life, and have growth goals. Change and shift your energy. Pivot.
Welcome everyone. I'm Suzanne Sibylla, your host of Pivot Now, where we bring on interesting, exciting, and dynamic guests who will share with us their tips, tricks, and life and business hacks. I am super excited to have this guest on our show. She is an amazing person. She's an author, speaker, professor, and a change agent. How great is that? So fantastic. Welcome to our show, Dr. Jennifer Knowles.
Hi.
Welcome, Dr. Jennifer. So good to see you. You've got
great to be here.
Yeah, so great to have you here. So we've got the hearts and the
fire.
So excited to have you on our show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is truly a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So I know we talk a lot about pivots, in our life and business, and this is what the show is about pivoting. And so can you give us your backstory and how you have pivoted in your life and business as well?
Sure. Well, I'd say pivot is my middle name. I think, anything in our careers is a journey, and maybe what we start out, on our venture of what we want to be when we grow up to where we are in college, doesn't often turn out the way we envision. And it turns out that, we pivot and we make it better, and it's new, exciting opportunities. A little bit about my background is I have been in the human resources and employee development space for nearly my entire 25-year career so far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I started out, growing up, my family was always like, you should be a teacher. You should be a teacher. You should be a teacher. And, you hear that and you're like, well, yes, but... And so I ended up basically starting out being a corporate teacher. Graduated from University of Michigan, go Blue. and we went into a corporate training, and from there got a master's in human resources and development. From there, I got this amazing job where I worked for one of LVMH's subsidiaries in the Bay Area. Got to travel the globe, going and really developing employees from all across the world. Truly amazing experience. And then, we'll talk more about this, but had one of those pivot aha moments, and I went and got a PhD. Looking at where you are in your life and what your priorities and your values are. Got a PhD. From there, pivoted again to be a change agent and got laws changed in the from around kids entrepreneurship, not only in my city and state, but around the country. And I've again pivoted to be a university professor, getting ready to write my next book. So I would say life is a series of pivots, and we just embrace it and have fun with it.
Yeah, that is great. What an impressive background. Really impressive. I mean, we have a lot of similarities too in terms of employee development, change agent, leadership development, and learning development, because I started out my career as well. I mean, I did a little pivot there because I started out as a licensed therapist for 10 years and then transitioned into learning and development and organizational change and training. So it's kind of interesting that we have that similar background.
Yeah, in fact, I read your book. I see it in the background. And when I was reading your book, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're speaking my language.
Yeah. I know. It's so great. It's so great to connect with someone else that is also doing the same kind of thing, similar thing, and that you have a PhD as well. And then also you're going to write a book. So what is the book about?
Pivoting and finding your purpose and passion in your career and your life. Really, truly, I've learned so many great tips and trips along the way from, not only from my research and my PhD, but just life experiences. And, if I could just help, one or two people that would be worth it for me, to really help them get closer to finding their true joy. And I think really, we're ending the year, and we're thinking about the new year and what is it that we really want? Like, what is our wake up call? Like what, so many moments they come and they go. And if we don't seize those opportunities, they just pass us by.
Yeah, and I know this whole show, this whole episode is discovering your wake up call. So can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about that? I mean, how do you
Yeah.
find that? How do you find that wake up call, and what is the wake up call?
Well, I think, for me at least, it's been a series of wake up calls. I think whether it would be, trusting the universe, or me trusting my faith, trusting a higher power, and really
Mm,
opening yourself up to um, being unafraid, and really being willing to take that step forward, to listen to the inner voice, and to really um, want to make that leap, even if we are comfortable in our daily lives. Is that really what we want to be doing? Is that really what our wake up call? I mean, is that really fulfilling all aspects of our lives? And I think I've seen so many people throughout time, ever since I was a kid. They go to work and they do their thing, and they come home and they go to bed, and
mm.
they the next day they do it again. Um, they live for their vacations, and they live for pretty much everything but their job. And so, what are those moments in our life that, are really those aha moments that really truly are the wake up call to really launch us to move forward in a direction we want to go?
Yeah, and I think that is so important because I work with so many clients, and like
Mhm.
you're saying, many of them are on autopilot, right? Like you're
Mhm.
just saying that
Yeah.
go to work, come home, make dinner, watch
Right.
a little bit of TV, and
Yeah.
then go to bed, and then it's the same thing over and over again. And before you know it, it's like a year's gone by, 2 years, 20
Yep.
years go by. And
Mhm.
so it's really focused on being intentional, right? Being
Mhm. Yeah.
intentional in living this life. We've only got one life to live. So how do
Absolutely.
you want to live it? What do you want to create in life?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, at least from my experiences, is, we kind of, a lot of ways, we break up our lives in sections, in chunks of time. So, you go to college, you get your first job out of school, and that's a chunk. And then, for, a lot of people find their significant others, and they start a family, and that's another chunk. And then, your mid-career, and then you start reevaluating, and perhaps parents are getting older, or if some of us have kids or families, or just demands of other people on us, that's a chunk. And then, going on as we, move towards our career, to more advanced parts of our career, to retirement. A lot of my research has been based on a model called the kaleidoscope career model, where there's really three parameters: authenticity, balance, and challenge. And the idea is that as we're going through the life cycle of our lives, men versus women may have different priorities. So, my priority for fresh out of college and young and eager was challenge, challenge, challenge. I didn't care if I worked, I don't know, 12, 14 hours a day, because I just wanted to get ahead. And now, 25 years into my career, almost, priorities are different. And so really, paying attention to those key moments that really are the wake up calls, to almost serve as a catalyst to pivot.
Yeah, and I think that is again really important because we as people, as humans, go through different, as you're saying, different phases in our life. And a lot of times it's according to the age that we're at as well. Like you're
Mhm.
saying, when you're fresh out of college, you might have different priorities, different expectations, getting your career going. When you're in your 30s, maybe 40s, you might be looking for a life mate or life partner, marriage, and then having kids. And then when you're older, it might be more, sandwich generation. I know that many are in the sandwich generation where they're taking care of their elderly parents, or taking care of their parents, and then also taking care of their kids as well. And they're kind of sandwiched in between that. And then also, like you're saying, retirement as well. So, I mean, we go through a number of pivots throughout our life.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you're talking about being authentic as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's really important. So can you give us some, I guess, tips on how to overcome those challenges as well? Because it sounds like you've overcome some challenges throughout your life and you've made those pivots. How does one do that? How does one go about overcoming those challenges?
Yeah, well, I think it's a daily step in the right direction. I don't think we ever just wake up and be like, okay, well, I'm ready to, overcome every challenge today. I think, you might wake up and you're going to decide that you're going to have make a change or make a difference, but it could be really those very small differences, those small changes. It doesn't have to necessarily be overnight. But I'll give you an example of two in my life that were really truly wake up calls for me that launched me to pivot, and hopefully that will help by through a few examples and stories of my own that might help shed some light on some insight. One was I had this amazing job working for LVMH and traveling the world and just really truly living the high life, doing a job that I loved, developing employees, developing leaders, so fun. And I looked, I was probably in my early 30s, and I was looking around at all the more senior women who were in the organization, had devoted their lives to the organization or organizations like that, working 12, 14, 15 hours a day on a regular basis. And, most of them did not have a family. And I started to, or if they did have a family, it was a very broken family and a very small family. And it was, it didn't necessarily, the lives they were living outside of their career necessarily didn't match my vision and values for what I had envisioned for my life. And so that was one of those aha moments where I'm like, is this really the direction? Is this the path that I'm currently on, which was really like a fast track in the corporate world? Is this the path that I want to continue? And I said, mm-mm, mm-mm. And so really truly listening to my heart and surrounding myself with people who were supportive in the vision that I had for my life really was the first step for that. But it wasn't even just like overnight I quit. I wasn't the person to be like, okay, this is an amazing career, I quit, see ya. And so I took baby steps. And so I loved what I was doing so much that I wanted to be the best I possibly could at it. And so that's when I got into started applying to PhD programs, and I got into a PhD program where I could continue kind of diving deep into the content and the research of all the things I've been doing as a practitioner, but really taking it to the scholarly academic side to get that PhD. I transitioned from being a corporate employee to creating my own business. And so I took the company that I used to work for, they became a client of mine. And so that way I could control what projects that I would take on. I could control when I got on a plane and when I didn't. And so suddenly, I made the shift. So when I got a PhD, I decided I'm going to go back to school, but I didn't just quit my job. And then I didn't also quit my job until I was able to ensure that the company, I could still work with them as a client and, creating my own LLC, creating my own business, entrepreneur, and, having some control of my life. And then I would say, fast forward, this is going on, but I have more control of my life. I'm still working with them as a client. And then my wake up call was I had my first child, and he was about 1 year old, and he got hand, foot, and mouth disease. I don't know if you've had kids or you're familiar with the nasty little thing where you get rash and you're sick. And I had to get on a plane to Singapore. And so here I was having to leave my sick baby, literally have to travel across the world. And I'm looking at my hands on Singapore Airlines, like halfway somewhere, I don't know where I was, somewhere over the North Pole, probably somewhere around there. I'm looking at my hands and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sick. I have this rash all over my hands. I'm sick too. And I'm literally going halfway across the world. What am I doing?
Uh-huh.
And so talk about a wake-up call, talk about like an aha moment for pivoting. And I'm like, from that point, just like a click. I'm like, I have to make a change. This is not going to work. And so I took
Mm.
a number of baby steps. I knew where I wanted to go, to take steps to go in that direction. And then I just had that one moment, and that was it, almost like a switch where, I just had to make a big change. And then once I got back from that trip, which was kind of hard, not being well,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I reprioritized. That's one example. And then another example is post PhD. I finished and I'm like, okay, well, universe, what am I going to do now? I have this amazing degree. I have this amazing research. What am I going to do now? And so I went to bed. I had, talked to the universe, and this is what's next.
Uh-huh.
And then that weekend, my kids had their first ever neighborhood lemonade stand just right across the street from our house. And our lemonade stand, their lemonade stand, got shut down by police.
Oh, wow.
And the police told them that they were shut down due to lack of a complaint. Someone had complained about them, and a lack of permits. Because in the city of Denver, at the time where we lived, Denver needed 3 permits for a kid to have a lemonade stand across, like in their community, in their neighborhood, like even on their
Wow.
sidewalk. And we're like, what? That's insane. Like that's
Uh-huh.
whoever heard of that?
Yeah.
And so, of course, my kids were devastated and like, what happened? And we just want to have a lemonade stand. And they were trying to raise money for a small child over halfway across the world who was less fortunate. So like all the money they were raising for this lemonade stand was not going to buy, a video game or anything for them. It was to help another child less fortunate.
Mm.
And I that next morning I reached out to our local media, and I'm like, and I just said, a text a tip type of thing. I'm like, can you help me understand this, because I don't understand why we need permits for a lemonade stand. Fast forward 4 days, our story had turned viral, and we were on live national TV talking about it. And then that catapulted a whole nother year of my life and my family's life, as we ended up being all over the media. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNN, like CBS This Morning, like all over the place. You name it, we were there. Where we worked to not only get the laws changed in the city of Denver, but we also got the laws for lemonade stands. But then we also got the laws changed for the state of Colorado for all kidpreneurs to be able to have small businesses without the bureaucratic barriers and all the red tape. And then because our story had gone so viral that Country Time Lemonade, Kraft Heinz, they hired me to work with them on a national campaign to advocate for kids' lemonade stands. And as a result of all of that work, there are now 18 states across the country. We started out, there was just one. It was just one. And after we were done, there were 18 states across the country who had legalized either one, kids' lemonade stands without permits, or kidpreneurship, like we did in the state of Colorado. That launched a TED Talk, that launched a children's book that my kids and I wrote together. It launched all these opportunities. And it's all because I had the wake-up call. I woke up literally at 3 a.m. in the morning, the morning after this all had happened. And I'm like, this isn't right. I've got to do something. So again, almost like, there's events leading up to it. You have to open yourself up. And it's almost like a light switch of going from off to on, and be like, I'm going to do something about this.
Wow. Wow. What an incredible story. That is so amazing to go from that. Really, wow. That I'm kind of speechless on it too. In terms of a lemonade stand, like you would think, yeah, a kid can have a lemonade stand. Our son has a lemonade stand. We live on a golf course, and they always have lemonade stands, so that the golfers can have lemonade, right? And would never think that you need permits, especially 3 permits to run a lemonade stand. So it's amazing that you went through all of that whole process so that kids can run their lemonade stand. And it's amazing that it went viral, and that the lemonade company brought you in as well. I mean, wow,
Yeah.
what an incredible story. That
Yeah,
is really amazing.
impact. And we talk a lot, I've talked a lot before about, connecting the dots. I got a PhD in organizational learning, performance, and change. And a big part of that PhD was change management and how to create change, how to implement change within an organization. And so I used that training that I had and that deep education in how to impact change, how to be a change agent, and used it for the community to really make it better for kids across the country, for kids lemonade stands and kidpreneurship. And so, you just have to be open for opportunities and be willing to, stand up and say, let's go.
I love that. I love it. I love the story too. It's just so incredible. So incredible how it led you to where you are now too. I mean, because a lot of times we don't really think that our challenges could lead us to something. We're just in the thick of it, right? And you didn't let that stop you. Like you didn't let the whole thing of getting a permit and all of that stop you or your kids, right? It was such a great learning experience, I'm sure, for your children as well. And then to write a book about it. I mean, and to have your kids author the book. I mean, wow, what an amazing, amazing experience. Really.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. It was, you never know where life will take you, and just have fun and create positive change and positive impact wherever we can.
Yeah, that sounds great. So this part of the show, we call it 3, 2, 1, go. And so we want to hear from you 3 tips, 2 techniques, and 1 action item that we can take to move our life forward. So can you give us the three tips, 2 techniques, and 1 action item?
Yes, I have it written down here. My 3 tips. Tip number 1, really examine the moment or moments that have been your aha wake up call moments. And so, I gave a few examples of my own wake up call moments that I really just seized, and I didn't just push it away. I really just moved forward and, what are those moments, those aha moments, and then act on them when they come to you. Tip number 2, explore your inner voice's message. And if you're continuing to ignore it, really pay attention, because usually if we have, voices or thoughts of, where we want to go or the direction we want to go or how we want to pivot, they don't just go away. We could squash it, but over time they get louder and louder and louder. And really pay attention to what your heart, what your soul, what your mind, what your voice is saying, because that really truly leads you to the purpose that you're meant to be on. And tip number 3, really evaluate the 5 people you spend the most time with. We truly are a product of the people that we surround ourselves with, and really make sure you support you fill your world, your orbit with people who will support you in the direction that you want to go, where your aha moments are, where your voice is to say where you want to go. Because it's so easy to come up with so many excuses and to squash it and be like, oh no, that's a great idea, but I can't do that for XYZ reasons why. So if you really surround yourself with those supportive people, they'll really help foster you, to help you build you up to do the things that you are meant to do in this world.
I love that. I love that, especially the 5 people, because that is so, so important. I mean, I know that we met each other through a mastermind group, which is a real strong community, and it's a real positive, nurturing, supportive community. And I always tell people that it's so important who you surround yourself with. And because you can tell, who you are by who your friends are. So I think that's so important. That tip is so important.
And that group brought us together. And
exactly.
Right now, so thankful for that.
Yeah. So what are the 2 techniques?
The 2 techniques are, 1, practice daily gratitude. If you fill your mind with abundance and all of the good that's around you, you're going to naturally start seeing the good and start seeing the opportunities. So when those aha moments or when those wake up calls come by, you actually are able to act on them and move forward in that scary but exciting direction, as opposed to just squashing it and going along with your day the way it's been for probably many years. So that's the first one. And the second one is build a really good morning routine. And in my morning routine, that consists of journaling and meditation, and really being open to the day and the universe of what the day is supposed to bring me, and really building that routine into your day will really make a big difference. And it's interesting. I've taken all this mindset hacks, and I've been implementing them with the kids, my family. And as we're driving to school every morning, I have them talk about what their gratitude, what they're grateful for, and what they're looking forward to in the day. And that's a great opportunity to redirect. If someone is, saying, oh, school's going to be hard, or this is going to be a bad day because blah, blah, blah. Turn it around into make it a positive, and make it, fill it with gratitude and abundance, and good things will follow.
I love that. Love, love, love that. Because I say that to my clients all the time, is when we focus on what we're grateful for and the gratitude, it is so transformative, because we start to attract that type of energy into our lives. We focus on what we don't like or what we don't want in our lives, or what is lacking. That's all we bring into our lives. So I always tell my clients, is I focus on what you're grateful for, and write that out, write it out in a journal, like you said, or a notebook, and really focus in on those gratitude, the gratefulness, because then you'll start to feel that energy, that positivity will just envelop you. So I love that you talk about that as well. And then the whole thing about routines, I also talk to my clients about that as well. I mean, I'm really into routines, and having healthy routines throughout the day, like, what time do you wake up in the morning, as well as what time do you go to bed at night, and turning off the electronics like an hour before you go to bed at night is very important as well. So I love that you talk about that, as well as giving us two techniques, gratitude and then also routines. So thank you for that. That's really great. So then what action can we take to pivot our lives forward?
The number one action step that I want to tell you, and I do it myself and anyone and everyone who is watching this, is today, tell someone that thing that you've been wanting to do, that voice, that idea, that thing that really lights you up, but maybe you're not doing, but you really, really want to be doing. And say it out loud, and make it a vow to yourself that you'll make a small change in your life today. So by, not just holding it inside and thinking to yourself, this is what I want to do, or this is where I want to go, but taking that next step and telling someone out loud what that step is, will really help take that small step to help move you forward in the direction of pivoting.
That I love that as well. That's really great, because a lot of times we want to just keep it inside, or like, oh, I don't know if I want to say this, or the fear can be overwhelming. That's like, well, I don't know if I really want to do this, because, what are people going to think, or can I actually achieve this, or or comparing oneself to another person. And so I like that, what you just talked about, is just, voice it out, put it out there, and you can see it happening. So being intentional.
Yeah. And, I go back to the lemonade stand story. I was, I just finished my PhD and I wasn't working. I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? And so I put it out there. I, said it to my husband. I said it to, my immediate closest people. I said, I'm ready for the next thing. I don't know what that is, but I'm ready. And sure enough, by the end of the weekend, we were on live. We were on live local TV. By the end of the week, we were on live national TV, and the next step had just happened. And so, that's just a perfect example of, when you're ready, put it out there, because good, exciting opportunities will come your way.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I think of that's for myself as well, and for a lot of the clients that I work with, because we've gone through a pandemic, right? We're
Yeah.
still experiencing a lot of that, but I know for a lot of people, especially in 2020 and then through 2022,
Yeah.
many people have pivoted in their life and in
Yeah.
their career, and they've made a lot of pivots. I know for
Yeah.
myself, it was in 2020 because my husband was recently retired. I had 2 lucrative contracts that were suddenly frozen, and then our son was doing online learning, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is total chaos. What am I going to do, right? And so I pivoted, I definitely pivoted, and I did everything online
Yeah.
and created my business online. Whereas before it was all, instructional led, and it was all in person. And so to
Yeah.
have to create it all online, it was like, wow. And then wrote a book. And then before you know it, everything started to flow. Everything, like just taking those small actions,
Yeah.
started to create the momentum and leading to where I am now. So it is amazing how that happens. Like, you just voice it out, you just put it out
Mhm.
there, and things happen, and you start
Mhm.
taking those small steps forward, taking the small actions,
Mhm.
building the momentum, and things start to happen. So that's
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
great. Again, I love that lemonade story though. That's a wonderful story. That's so fantastic. So this part of the show, we really focus on what we call our favorites. So I
Okay.
like to ask you, what are your favorite, like your fun favorite? What is your fun favorite?
My
Your
fun
favorite
favorite.
fun? Your
I love
favorite?
to I love to travel. Getting out
Yeah,
of our routine of our everyday is lights me up. And so exploring new places and seeing new cultures and just getting out of my rut. We all have a routine, whether we pivot or not, we still have a routine that we do every day. And I love to just spice things up and shake things up and get on a plane or hop in the car and go somewhere new.
yeah, that sounds great. I love traveling too. So have you gone to any exciting places lately, or?
Yeah, well, we went to Europe a few
Oh,
months
fun.
ago and took the kids, and that
Uh-huh.
was so fun. And hopping on a plane shortly to a tropical warm place. So excited about that, and already traveling a big trip for next summer for another European adventure.
Oh, how fun. I love
Yeah,
it. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, we were in Europe a couple years back too, so that
nice.
was fun. Yeah, that's great. So what is your favorite find? Your favorite find?
Favorite find.
You're like, oh, I gotta rack my mind for that one.
I would have to say all the little markets in all the big cities. Whether I used to travel to Hong Kong all the time for work, and I would just love to have taxis just drop me off at these random places, and I just wander around these markets and just wander around like the locals and find all kinds of goodies that you can never find at home, or even if it's in your local city, just finding those little nooks of goodies wherever that might be.
Yeah, sounds fun. Sounds like a lot of fun. What about your favorite fitness?
Favorite fitness. Well, we just ordered a Peloton. So
Oh,
I'm super,
okay.
super excited to get
Uh-huh.
that Peloton. And I've been doing something called habit stacking, where, you do something that you don't like as much, combine that with something that you really like to help you build up
Hmm.
that habit. And, working out is not my favorite thing, but I love to watch a good TV show. And I don't really allow myself to watch much TV. And so by habit stacking, my new bike that is coming in a week and my favorite TV shows. I'm hoping it's going to work.
I love that. Wow, great tip there, habit stacking. Yeah, I love that. Great. Favorite film. What is your favorite film?
Favorite film: Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh, okay.
There's just something about British and Hugh Grant and
Uh-huh.
just a good escape from the world.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds really good. So do you have any other closing tips, techniques, anything for us?
Yeah, well, I would just say, as this year is winding down and we're thinking about 2023, really all of us, myself including, really envisioning what 2023 should look like for us, and how we can make those small changes and really pay attention to those inner voices that maybe we've been bearing in the past, to really create a plan, a vision plan, a vision board, and really put it out there. Tell the people, tell the 5 people that are closest to you, tell everyone you can. By the end of 2023, this is where I'm going to be, and this is how I'm going to make it happen, and get really specific. So start your broad ideas of how you're going to pivot, and then back up and fill in the details to really create a plan.
That's great. Love it, love it, love it. So fantastic. So where can we find you? I mean, we'll have your social media accounts and everything after the show. It'll be there, on the recording and everything. How can we find you? Where can we find you?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Well, I have a website, jenniferknowles.com, and I've been filling out all kinds of blog posts and some helpful tips and resources. You can check me out there or on social media. I'd love to connect.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and all of the valuable tips and tricks and techniques. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on our show. Yeah.
This was so fun. Truly a pleasure. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Yeah, grateful for you too. So thank you so much for joining our show. We're here every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, I'm your host, Suzanne Sabilla, and we bring on, as you can see, dynamic and interesting and exciting guests. You can also connect with me. Again, I'm Suzanne Sabilla at SabillaCoaching.com, and I provide executive coaching as well as training and organizational change. Welcome again, and we'll see you next week.
Change and shift your energy. Pivot.